so linking in really to what Stella and Chris have been talking about, it's about what we do with qualitative data. So we've got, in a lot of the projects that we work on, we'll be having a lot of text to deal with in one way or another. And Ksenia has done quite a lot of work about developing word clouds using different tools. So that's what I'm going to be talking a little bit about now. So when we've got a lot of interview data, often what we do in reports is we end up kind of presenting them by themes and then using verbatim quotes, but that might not always be appropriate if you're trying to perhaps present stuff at conferences, or if you're going to be putting stuff on Twitter, for example, to try and get people interested in your research. So we need to think about how we can move beyond that use of interview data. So Ksenia's used NVivo. Are people here familiar with NVivo? Have you all used it? There's a few nods there. Have any of you used it to build word clouds? No, okay, so that's what Ksenia has done. So I'll be giving you a handout in a bit about how you can use NVivo to build word clouds. And when we do the practical session, if you want to have a go at doing that, you'll have the opportunity there. But basically, once you've got all your sources uploaded, you can tailor how you build the word cloud by either looking at your text and your annotations. You can use all sources or individual sources, and you can really kind of be quite flexible about how you use NVivo to build word clouds, and that's quite different from some of the online tools that are freely available. So there are some advantages if you're already using NVivo to try and use NVivo to develop word clouds. So that's what it looks like basically when she's developed the word cloud. And when she, you can end up getting frequencies of key terms, and that's what it will look like. So you can do it that way, but that can be not as visually interesting as what word clouds actually look like. So there are some online tools that you might want to use, and there's a selection there. So for those of you who don't have NVivo, but want to think about developing word clouds for your research, say you're working in a field where you're collecting quantitative data and you're thinking, well, what can I do with that? What you can try is perhaps put in the text from one of your journal articles or one of your conference papers into the word cloud generator, and that might be a quite interesting way of trying to visualise what your research is about if you're not using qualitative research data. There are some issues with developing word clouds. I mean, as we know, when we're looking for literature and we're using databases for, using key terms for searching databases, we know that there are issues with how terms are used, what phrases we use, different types of terminology for the same thing. So this is an issue that you also get with developing word clouds from your data when you put it in. So you need to kind of think about the detail of what you're going to be doing, perhaps do a practice run with a small amount of the data to try and iron out any of the issues that you might have. So there's things around phrases, the tenses that are used, so past or future tense, short words, long words, etc. Ksenia found that she does research around risk and sustainability, and she did a word cloud, but she excluded any words below 3 letters. And she had to go back and redo them because she wanted to include IS, Islamic State. And so you have to think about when you're putting parameters around your how you develop them, what impact that will have on what you get out at the other end. Okay, so she's just outlined different things you might want to try. So if you're working on a project that has text mining as a key feature, you might want to use something called Leximancer, and this is quite an expensive piece of software, so unless your project has really got a strong emphasis on looking at large data, big data, then you might not be able to use this. But basically this allows for a more nuanced understanding of how terms are used in their context rather than just counting the number of instances. You're actually kind of building connections between concepts and how they're used. And that's what kind of information you get out at the other end. So you'll get these kind of bubbles and see interconnections, and you can also get some graphics there. And there's also a video that I'll just
Natural language is dynamic and complex. People write and speak using imaginative clusters of related words around a topic, and such clusters of terms travel around together throughout the text to form concepts, and often the meaning or the sentiment is implied by the context. Traditional attempts at automated analysis of text struggle, as they rely upon predefined dictionaries and demand rigorous grammar and structure, something very much lacking in today's mobile social media world. Leximancer is different. It requires no onerous setup or predefinition, but uses word proximity and correlation in the text. Therefore, the meaning is emergent from the text itself and not predetermined with bias. Leximancer also operates at a concept level, each with its own thesaurus of defining terms that travel with it in the text and help identify its presence. With Leximancer, an analysis takes just minutes, and the solution is presented in a fully interactive concept map with accompanying dashboards and statistics panels. And the analysis can be cut and sliced by categorical data. Leximancer can be applied to all forms of traditional text formats, web content, and social media data, with focused applications having now been developed for enterprise search and social media monitoring. Let Leximancer discover the unknown unknowns and unearth meaning and actionable insight from your text, automatically.
So Leximancer might be useful to you if you're looking at kind of trying to mine big data. Another example that we talked about is around developing timelines, and she ran a workshop with 50 attendees to talk about perceptions of security and how they've changed over 50 years. And she got feedback from the participants like this in post-it notes, which kind of scanned over a period of time. So she was trying to think about how she can kind of harness that information in a really accessible and interesting way. So she used Dippity and transformed the workshop findings into a timeline. And on each of these cases, you can click onto them and find out more information. You can input descriptions, you can insert links to Wikipedia pages or any of the sources that are relevant. So this might be quite a good tool if you're looking at concepts over a period of time, and if you develop those, you might be able to put them on your project website or use them at conferences. So I think this is a really interesting tool if you're looking at doing that sort of thing. The other thing that she's done is you try to use Excel more creatively. So these look quite intense, and they're really interesting how she's kind of used Excel in a visual way. And if you have any specific questions about how she's achieved this, then her email address is in the pack. I really like this one here because she's looked at how to take this obviously a large amount of different data by country, and she's presenting it using the different size bubbles, and it's quite straightforward. You just use a formula for pi to get the circle dimension the right size to represent the data in a kind of a way across all the countries. So, as I said, if you've got any questions about that, then Ksenia is the person to ask. So, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions you have. She also looked at using word clouds, and what she did here is she developed some word clouds for each country that she looked at how they spoke about threats in their news media. And in order to kind of get that spotlight effect, it was just a case of using the software that you get images in, so your JPEG, and actually just adding that in. So it's a very straightforward thing. So there are things you can do that are quite simple that you could use to really emphasise what you're trying to say in research, and you can have a play about with software that's freely available already on your computer. So a few other sources that she wants to talk about. So there's a guest about me, which is about social media monitoring. So I suppose it's going to be quite similar to the Leximancer software. There's Vengage, which is iconographics. Visualize Me, which I think sounds really interesting, the idea that you can produce an infographic from your own CV. So I think we'd all be interested to find out what that tells us about ourselves. And Easily, which is a similar tool to Prezi. So you might want to just have a look at some of those. And again, Dippity is the timeline website. So the main thing, I guess, to take away is to think about what data you do have in your projects, what questions you're going to ask of your data, and how you can harness that into kind of visual outputs. And you try using different tools, because what might be right for one kind of project or different kind of data won't be quite right. So I guess it's just being aware of all the different tools that are out there and having a go. So I'm going to give you the handout on the NVivo word cloud. And so if you've got NVivo, have a go at that. Otherwise, if you can use your computer and try out some of these online tools. So basically, you just take perhaps text from one of your papers, put it in, perhaps try some of the different ones. I know Taggle apparently is one that you can adjust the shape of the word cloud. I've been informed today. They're all similar but slightly different. So you might try different ones on the table and perhaps talk to each other about what you found and what you think works well and what doesn't. So we're going to have about 20-25 minutes for that. So, you use the time to have a go, and we'll start back in about 20 minutes.